Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Yomi Kesubos and Beis. We are on an Aleph Amud Beis, 2 lines from the bottom of the Amud. We learned in the Mishnah, a husband must provide the ransom payments if his wife is taken captive. So if he is a Yisrael, his promise, his commitment to her includes redeeming her and restoring the marriage, taking her back as a wife. If she's a kohenes, meaning married to a kohen, then the commitment is a bit different, because in that case, she cannot go back to him as a wife, due to the concern that perhaps the captor interacted with her. So even if it's ba'inus, against her will, it makes her asa to her husband, the kohen. So in that case, he is committing to redeem her and take her back to her parents. Ubekayhenes, says the Gemara, Ubekayhenes hadrinach lemedinasach v'chulu. Because in any case, he cannot retake her at that point. Amar Abaye, here comes an interesting shaila. Abaye has a chiddush for us. Almana l'kohen gadol chayav lifdoisa. Suppose this woman was an almana, a widow, who cannot marry a kohen gadol, but they did it in any case. They were married and she was taken captive. Is he chayav to redeem her? On the one hand, why not? She's his wife. Although it's a forbidden union, but after all, she's his wife. Commitment's there. On the other hand, the whole point is to redeem a wife who's legally your wife, who's involved in a proper marriage. So which way is it? It says Abaye, if she would be an Eshes Yisrael, who's asa to him, going to see soon, another case, a mamzeres, let's say. In that case, he has no obligation. You know why? The whole point is, I'll redeem you and take you back as a wife. In this case, he can't do that. He cannot possibly fulfill the directive of the Kesuba. The obligation is redeem and take her back. In this case, it's not relevant. But in the case of the Alman L'Kohen Gadol, think about it. The whole point, the whole obligation here is not to retake her as a wife. We explained that an Eshes Kohen can never go back to her husband in any case. So irrelevant of the specific circumstance, in this case, it happens to be she's asa, regardless of the fact that she was taken captive because she's an almana, he's a kohen gadol. He still has to keep his obligation. He still has to keep his commitment to redeem her, because by a kohen, the commitment does not entail retaking as a wife. It never does. So let him at least fulfill that commitment of live daisa. Let him redeem her. Amar Abaye, almana l'kohen gadol chayav lifdoisa. If she's an almana, he's a kohen gadol, he must redeem her. Although she's asur to him, shani korer, but because I can still apply in this case, ubekayhenes, that's the lashon of the ksuba. When it's a kohenes, hadrinach lemedinasich. I'll send you back home. I'll redeem and send you back home. Well, that's what's going to happen here as well. No different than in any other Eshes kohen. So this commitment, this obligation stands. But a mamzeres, or a Nesina, she's from the Nesinim, the Givonim, who's also Torah Yisrael. If they're taken captive, there's no chiyav, because in this case I can't apply to her the terminology, the lashon of the Ksuba, I'll redeem and restore you, take you back as a wife, because she's asur to him. So Abaye works with the text, the lashon HaKsuba. The lashon by kohen is simply to redeem and let her go. Well, that's what's happening here as well. The lashon by the Yisrael is redeem and take her back. Well, in this case, he can't take her back, so he's patur. Rava Amar, he disagrees. He totally disagrees. Sure, an Eshes kohen she can't go back to him because she was taken captive. Okay, if that's the impediment, fine. So you still have to redeem her and then send her home. But if there's another impediment, another reason why she can't go back to him, irrespective and unconnected to the story of the Shviya, to the captivity. Rather, due to an external factor, because she's an almana and he's a kohen gadol. In that case, there's no chiyuv to redeem her. You see, Rava looks at a Yisrael and a kohen as one. It's all the same idea. I promise to redeem you and take you back. Well, by a kohen, if the shivya experience doesn't allow you back, okay, fine. I'll let you go back home. I'll ensure that you're safe and sound back home. But in a case where the entire marriage was on shaky footing, the entire marriage did not really allow for interaction between them. She was an almana, he's a kohen gadol. In that case, I never committed to redeeming you. Let's see Rava inside. Rava Amar Kol she'isur shviya goyim lo chayav l'ftoisa. Sure, if the shviya, the being taken captive, that's making you usher on me as a kohen, have to stick to my commitment, redeem you, and take you back home. Isur davar achar goyim lo. But if the reason why she's usher is because of another factor, she's an almana, I'm a kohen gadol. In that case, einay chayav l'ftoisa. I have no chiv to redeem her. And Rashi puts it this way. He says, according to Rava, the shibud, the commitment by a kohen and by Yisrael are really one and the same. It's the same idea. I redeem you and take you back. It so happens to be that by the kohen, he's also adding another stipulation. If it so happens to be that you become usher because of the shviya experience, fine. I'm still going to redeem you and allow you back home, right? But if there's another barrier between them, the fact that she's usher to him regardless, in that case there's no commitment between the two. Right? The whole point is, if the shviya made you usher on me, it's not your fault. Okay, really I want you back, but the experience made you usher. I'll stick to my commitment. But if you were usher on me to begin with, the whole point of redeeming you is to bring you back to me. You were usher to me. So I have no chiv. Perhaps this question, this machlekes between Abaye and Rava, will match another machlekes Tanaim. Hamadar is ishta v'nishbis. He makes a neder. You cannot derive any benefit from me. He tells his wife. V'nishbis, and then she gets captured. She's taken prisoner. Reb Lezer Omer poida v'noisen l'ksubasa. He redeems, number one, and then gives her the ksuba payout. She can't live with him. He made a neder, right? They can't have an interaction. So Chiddush is, even though they're not really going to live anymore together, but he still has to redeem, and then he can do what he wants. He can divorce her and give her the ksuba. Rabbi Shua Omer, there's no chiv to redeem at this point, because in any case they cannot stay married. Noisan l'ksubasa, he gives the ksuba payout, right? While she's still in captivity. He doesn't have no chiv to redeem her. Let's continue the brayse. Amar ben Nasan, Sha'altias Sumchas. I asked Sumchas to explain this halacha. Amar Rabbi Yeshua. This, the Rabbi Yeshua says, Noisan l'ksubasa ve'ene poida. He pays out the ksuba, no chiv to redeem her. When is this? K'shedira was speaking that he first made the neder. You cannot interact with me. Ulubal seif nishbis, and afterwards she was taken captive. Or are we speaking even ben nishbis? First she was taken captive, ulubal seif dira, and then he decided, okay, I want to make a neder. I can't interact with you. In that case, perhaps he was trying to get out of the pidyon. That's why he made the neder. Which way is it? What did Rabbi Shua mean? Amarli and Simchas responded to me, I'm not really sure. Lo shamati, I never heard an authoritative interpretation from my, Rebbeim, but v'nir and hadvarim, it seems probable. She dira ul basef nishbis. First there was the neder, and then she was taken captive. And then Rabbi Shua says he doesn't have to redeem. Di amras nishbis ul basef dira, because if it was the other way, first captive and then he made the neder, he's going to play games. Asila rumi. This could be just a way to get out of redeeming her. We don't allow it. That's the price. Okay, how does that pertain to our sugya? So again, we're speaking that he made a neder against his wife. You can't have enough from me. And then she was taken captive. Rabbi Lezer says you still have to redeem. Rabbi Yehoshua says he's potter from pidyon. My love, shall we not assume that we can't be speaking about a conventional case, an Eishes Yisrael, because in that case, why would he have to redeem her, according to Rabbi Lezer? The commitment is, I redeem, I take you back. In this case, I can't take you back. Of course, there's no chiyuv. Oh, so it can't be a regular Eishes Yisrael. My love, presumably, was speaking by Mother Eishes Kohen. He was a Kohen. He made a neder against her, and then she was taken captive. Rabbi Lezer says, look, I know you can't live with her anymore because there was a neder between you. But an Eishes Kohen was never meant to be restored to her husband. That's, after all, the standard procedure by every Eishes Kohen. You redeem her and send her back home. This case is no different. And that's Abaye's shit. Abaye and Rabbi Lezer are synonymous. The Rava, but Rava who says that if it's any other factor aside from the Shavia experience making her usher on him, such as in this case where you have a neder causing the usher, in that case there is no chiyuv to redeem. So he's going like Rabbi Shua, V'Rava damak Rabbi Shua. So the machlokes Abaye v'Rava matches the machlokes Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Shua, which is a little bit problematic, of course, because then the Amira is disagreeing with the other Tana. It doesn't really work so well. No, perhaps that's not the pshat in this price. We're not speaking about a typical case of Eishes Kohen who has a neder. No. Hacha b'mayaskinen, we're speaking about a very unique case. Kigoin shenadra ihi. She was the one who made her neder against him. V'kiyam lahu, and he sort of reinforced it. It's in the hands and the ability of the husband, right, to nullify the neder. He decided to keep it, to confirm it. So she initiated, but he confirmed it. V'kiyam lahu. So now the question is, who's the perpetrator? Who's at fault? So let's say we're speaking about a regular Eishes Yisrael, right? Reuben and Rachel. Rachel made a neder. I have nothing to do with you. Reuben confirmed it, and now she was taken captive. Even if he redeems her, he can't take her back. They're not allowed to interact with each other. Question is, who's at fault? Is she at fault? In which case, he doesn't have to step up to the plate and redeem her, or he's at fault because he confirmed the neder that she made, right? So now he still has to live up to his obligations and redeem her. That's the shayla. Rabbi Lezer Savar, Rabbi Lezer holds it's his fault. Hu nasan. It's a saying. Hu nasan etzba ben shinei. It's like he placed his finger between her teeth and she bit it. Meaning he was the one who instigated it. He's at fault. You can't blame her. You're the one that made the neder. You activated the neder. Rabbi Yehoshua Savar, no, she's at fault. He nasna etzba ben shinei. It's like she put her finger between her teeth and bit it. So she's at fault, and therefore there's no chiyuv for him to redeem her. Well, ihi nasna etzba ben shinei. If according to Rabbi Yehoshua she's at fault, Kesubos ma'avidata. Rabbi Yehoshua says, okay, don't redeem. You don't have to redeem, but you have to give her the ksuba. Ksuba, I have to pay her? She's the one causing all the trouble. She's the one compelling me to divorce, so I don't have to pay a ksuba. That's a kasha. V'su, another kasha. The Brisa says, Amar Rabbi Nasan, Sha'alti es sumchas. I queried with sumchas. Sha'amar Rabbi Yehoshua. This that Rabbi Yehoshua tells us, Noisin lo ksuba savei poida. He pays her the ksuba, but doesn't have to redeem her. What is this? What happened? What happened first? What happened second? Right? Ksheidira el b'seif nishpis. Was there a neder and then she was taken captive, or the other way? Or b'she nispis. First she was taken captive, and then she made a neder. That was his question. He says, I'm not sure, etc. 1 second. If we are speaking that she was the one who made the neder. She caused the trouble, and according to Rabbi Yehuda, she's totally at fault. She's the one who made the neder. What difference does it make what happened first, what happened second? She is totally at fault. Mali hidira l'basayf nishbis. What difference does it make if she made the neder and then she was taken captive, so he's pater? Mali nishbis l'basayf hidira, or she was taken captive and then she made a neder. Bottom line is, why can't he take her back? Because she doesn't want to come back. She made a neder. Of course he's not chayiv. So this pshat in the brisa doesn't work. The point that she initiated the neder, it's not going to work. Oh, let's go back to a more simple approach. He was the one who started the trouble. He made a neder. Don't have enough from me. Okay? Then she was taken captive. Question is whether he has to redeem or not. Now, we can have two possible approaches to this brisa. Abaye will learn it his way, and Rava will learn it his way. Abaye metaretz l'tamei. He'll interpret the brisa consistent with his view on the sugya. That we follow the literal wording of the Kesubos, as we explained before. V'Rava metaretz l'tamei. Likewise, Rava will view the brisa from his lens. The Gemara explains. Abaye will take his approach. We have many possible scenarios. Let's go down the list. Almana l'kohen gadol. He's a kohen gadol. He married Almana, forbidden union. She was now a shvuya. Does he have to step up and redeem? Yes. According to all shittas, he has to redeem, as we explained before. After all, the chiyuv by the kohen is redeem and send her home. That's exactly what's happening here. It's no different than any other scenario. In any case, a shvuya is usher to the kohen. That's exactly what's happening here. The fact that she was usher before she was taken captive doesn't matter. Redeem and send her home. On the other hand, mamzeres onisin l'Yisrael. She was usher and married to Yisrael. By Yisrael, the commitment is totally different. I'll redeem and take you back. Well, in this case, I cannot take you back, so I'm pater. All agree there's no chiva pidyon. So both these halachas are clear. Likewise, in case number 3, Mader Eshes Kohen Nami. He's a kohen, she's a wife, a regular wife, not almana. But he made a neder to disengage from her. So now she's usher to him. She was taken captive. Must he redeem? Yes. Mader Eshes Kohen Nami. Why? Because it's no different than the Alman Kohen Gadol. The Hainu Alman Kohen Gadol, who was usher to him and still he has to redeem her. That's the Kohen's commitment to his wife. I redeem you even though you're usher on me. It doesn't matter whether you're usher because of the experience of the shivya, whether you're usher because I made a neder, whether you're usher because you're an Alman Kohen. It doesn't matter. The chiv is to redeem, period. In the 4th case, we have the machlekes between Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Yehuda. Ki pligi, when is there a machlekes? But Mader Eshes Yisrael. He's a Yisrael, she's an Eshes Yisrael, perfectly fine until this point. He makes a neder. Disengages from her. They can no longer stay married. Now she's taken captive. Do I have to redeem or not? That's the machlekes Tanai. Rabbi Lezer is Azal Basem Yikara. Rabbi Lezer focuses on the original obligation, the original commitment. When he married her, he said, I'm going to redeem you, right? Redeem you and take you home. At that point, the obligation was activated. It was triggered. It was implemented. So now he has to step up and redeem her. Irrespective of the fact that now he had already made a neder and she can't come back. It doesn't matter. That does not absolve him of his chiyuv to redeem her. Rabbi Yehuda Ozel Basar B'Sayf. Rabbi Yehuda focuses on the present moment. I cannot really take you back. And after all, that's the essence of my commitment. Redeem and take you back. There's another between us. So he's pater. So that's Abaye's approach to the sugya. Rava metaretz l'tamei. Rava has a different approach. Almana l'kohen gadol. Mamzeres onisin l'Yisrael. Kol amalei pligi deine chayiv l'ftois. Whether he's a kohen gadol and she's an almana, in which case, the reason why he cannot take her back after redeeming her, isn't necessarily related to the captivity event. It's related to an event that predated captivity, the marriage. She was an almana, he's a kain gadol. That's isser davar achar, the Gemara called it before. It's a different type of, it's unlinked to the being taken captive. In that case, there was no chiyuv to redeem you. Redeem, to take you back home as a wife. You don't belong, my wife. Likewise, mamzeres, una sinali Yisrael, where they're also to be married. There again, there's no chiyuv to redeem, because I can't redeem and restore you as a wife. So again, in these cases, kli amale pligi de nechayv, lifdois, all agree there's no chiyuv of pidyon. Ki pligi, when is there a machlekes? B'mader, a fellow made a neder to disengage from his wife, and then she becomes a shivuya. And it doesn't matter, bein eshes kain, whether she's married to a kain, bein eshes Yisrael, or bein eshes Yisrael, whether she's married to Yisrael. In both these cases, something happened. There was a switch, there was a shift. Let's break it down, right? In the case of the eshes kain, there was a slight shift, a very slight shift. Initially, he committed, if you're taken captive, I redeem and send you back home. I can't take you back, I'm a kain, right? But there was a slight shift, because there was a neder applied, which adds another reason why I can't take you back, unrelated to the shivya event. So that really is sufficient grounds to absolve me, to exempt me from the chiyuv pidyon. Right? According to Rav's approach on things. So that happened by the eshes kain. And by the eshes Yisrael, it's a more clear-cut shift. Initially, when he married, he committed to redeem and take her back home as a wife. And now he made a neder, so now that's not feasible. It's a major shift. I cannot really complete that directive. So in both these cases, where there was a shift that occurs, is the chiyuv pidyon maintained or not? That's the machlekes. Rabbi Lezer says yes, so because we look at the point of commitment, at the point of marriage. He committed to redeem her, he doesn't become pater from that. Rabbi Shua looks at the current situation, and since things have changed, dynamics have totally shifted. This is no longer the same situation as when I committed. Whether it's by the eshes Yisrael, because now I can no longer take it back, as I had originally, discussed and committed, or by the eshes kain, where there's a totally unrelated reason why I can't take her back, because of a neder that's unrelated to the shivya event. For these situations, I have no commitment, I have no chiv, no obligation to redeem. Okay, let's just summarize the last piece of Gemara before we continue. So we have Abaye's approach, we have Rav's approach. Abaye takes the literal approach to things. As long as you're complying with the wording of the Kesuba, you're chayav to redeem. And therefore Abaye says, even if it's an almana l'kain gadol, who are not meant to stay married, he still has to redeem, because guess what? Every kain gadol with an ordinary legal wife has the same issue. Once she's taken captive, he'll redeem her, send her back home. This is no different. Mamzeres or Nesinali Yisrael, that's an entirely different story, because typically Yisrael commits to redeem and take her back home, which is not applicable in this case, so he's pater. Sheneishes kain, and there's a neder disallowing her return to him. Here as well, says Abaye, he's chayav l'fdoisa, send her back home. Mother eshes Yisrael, that's a tricky case. Typically, Yisrael redeems and takes her back. In this case, he can't. So there was a shift. Rabbi Lezer says he's still chayiv because his chiyuv stays. He had a chiyuv to redeem her, and that goes nowhere. Rabbi Shua says no. Fact is, he no longer has the ability to retake her. That's not what he meant, and therefore he's pater from pidyon. According to Rava, Just as by the Mamzeres Yisrael, there's no Chiv Pidyon because he can't restore her as his wife. Almana L'kan Gadol as well, because there's an Isser preventing her return. An Isser which is unrelated to the captivity issue. So he's Pater. What about in a case where there's a neder between them? He made the neder against her, whether she's an Eshes Kayin or an Eshes Yisrael. So there was a shift in the dynamics. Eshes Kayin is now usher to him because of the neder as well. It's a totally new factor here. Eshes Yisrael would have been mutter to come back to him, but now she can't. Is he chayiv to redeem? Rabbi Lezer says yes. His original commitment sticks. Rabbi Shua says no. We view the current situation as is. Things have switched. Things have changed. There's no chiyuv pidyon. Okay, continue on the topic of pidyon. Nishpis chayiv l'vdoisa. She's taken captive. He has to go provide the ransom. Tana Rabbanan nishpis v'chayiv bal. This occurs during his lifetime. And before he got a chance to redeem her, he passed away. V'achkach meis bal. What is the halacha? Do the Yisayimim have to step up and redeem or not? It depends. Hikr ba bala. The husband was aware of the situation, in which case his chiyuv kicks in right then. Yarshan chayav and livdoisa. So even if they passes away, his kids have to take over. The chiyuv is passed over to the kids, and they have to redeem. Lo hikr ba bala. If the husband was not aware of her situation, in which case his chiyuv wasn't really activated yet, and he passed away, ein yorshin chayav and livdoisa, then the chiyuv does not get passed on to the yorshin. It's not their obligation. It's a husband's commitment towards his wife. In this case, there was no chiyuv to be paida. Levi figured leme'avid uvda, to carry out, to apply, to implement the halacha ki hamasnisa. He had a story that came to him, and he figured he's going to follow through exactly as this Mishnah, as this Bryson. The husband found out, he passed away. We obligate the Yarshim to take over and to provide the ransom. Amalei Rav, so Rav responds to Levi. It's incorrect. Hachi Amar Chavivi. Chavivi was a lashon referring to his uncle. My uncle Rabbi Chia told us as follows: Leis Hilchasa Kemasnisa. The halacha does not follow this brisa. Yarshim are never chayiv to redeem their mother. Ela Kihada Sanya. Rather, we follow the following brisa. Nish Bislachar Mrs. Bala. If this occurs after the husband's death, Ein HaYisayim Chayiv L'Vdoisa. The Yisayim have no chayiv to redeem. Not only that, even if this occurs during the husband's lifetime, and he finds out about it, and then he passes away. Orphans are not obligated. Why not? Very simple. How is the obligation spelled out in the Kesuba? I will redeem and take you back as a wife. It's inapplicable by kids. They're not chayiv. Tana Rabbanan. Nishbis. She's taken captive. And the kidnappers are demanding an exorbitant amount. 10 times her value. Is he obligated? Yes. First time, yes. Pam Rishona Poida, the first time he has to provide. But if it happens again, he has no chiv at all. Ratza Poida. If he wants, he can redeem. Ratza Einei Poida. Otherwise, he doesn't have to. Hitakan, the obligation, the chiyuv pidyon is a one-time event. Rabban Shimon B'Gamliel Eimer Ein Poidin es Ashvuyin Yisal Dmeim. Regardless, we never offer exorbitant ransoms. We don't allow ourselves to be extorted like that. Because it's going to encourage more extortion. Market value, okay, but not more. Do you mean that according to Rabban Shimon and Gamliel, if they're asking for a reasonable sum, then the husband is obligated? You mean even if the amount exceeds the amount which is incorporated into the ksuba commitment, the 200 zuz, the supplemental amount, whatever it is he mechuyev? Is he chayav to give more than that? Which is really an amusing fact, Rashi says, because after all, the chiyuv of pidyon it's a component of the ksuba commitment, right? So Rashi says you're going to consider the tafel, the secondary element of the ksuba, the pidyon element, to be greater and more encompassing, more obligating than the actual ksuba itself, which is a little bit, amusing, right? So that's the Gemara's kasha. The ksuba payout is 200, 300, and the ransom is 600. I have to pay that out. How could the tafel be more chamer than the ikr? The secondary obligation more chamer than be higher than the actual primary obligation. V'raminu, we have a kasha on that. Nishbis. She was taken captive. And they were asking him for 10 times the ksuba amount. Palm rishon poida. Okay, the first time around he has to give. Mikan ve'elach, but past that time, if it's a recurring situation, he's not obligated. Rotza poida, rotza ene poida. He chooses whether he wants to redeem. That's the Tanakama. Even if it exceeds the ksuba amount. Rabban Shimon Gamliel Omer, no. Im haya per koina keneged ksubosa. The ransom is equal to the ksuba payout. Poida, then he has to do it. Im la, but if it exceeds ene poida, he doesn't have to. And it would seem from Rabban Shimon Gamliel earlier that he would have to, even if it's more than the ksuba. If it's an exorbitant amount, he doesn't have to, but it doesn't have to match the ksuba amount. The answer is yes. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel Trei Kuli Islay. He holds of two leniencies. The ransom amount, number one, cannot exceed market value. You know how much a person would pay for a maidservant, this type of person in the market. Or if it exceeds the ksuba payout, he's also not chayiv. Mishnah says, just as a person has to feed his wife, he has to tend to her medical needs. Loksa, if she's ill, chayiv or poisa, he has to pay for her medical bills. Tanarabanan, almana nezonis nichsi yisayim. A fellow passes away, his almana can tap into the assets of the orphans to support herself. Utsricha refuah, let's say she needs to pay her medical bills. Hareika mezonis, we treat it like mezonis. Rashi says, well, they're both meant to sustain a person. Mezonis and refuah are on the same plane. So she's entitled to draw from their nechasim for refuah as well, like mezonis. Rabban Shimon Gamliel Omer, well, it depends what type of medical situation. Refuah sheyesh lo kitzba, if it's a defined expense. It's an occasional doctor's visit. It has some limit. It has a limit to it. It's a reasonable amount. Then nisrabas miksuvasa, actually that acts to her detriment. That is deducted from her ksuba. But she'ein lo kitzba, if it's an open-ended type of expense, an ongoing expense, harehika mezoines, we treat it like her sustenance. And just like the kids have to provide for her all the time, without a limit or a cap, this type of open-ended refuah is treated like mezonos. They have to keep on paying it out. But if it's a defined, specified amount, in that case we treat it like the ksuba, which is a defined amount. It's different than mezonos, which is an ongoing, need. But if it's a one-time or an occasional need, that's called yesh la kitzpa. We deduct it from her theoretical ksuba payments, and we don't add it to the ksuba. It's deducted from the ksuba. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, what about bloodletting? In Eretz Yisrael, it was very common. Also, the Chachamim considered hakasas dam Eretz Yisrael, bloodletting in Eretz Yisrael, since it was a common occurrence, k'refuah she'ein lo kitzpa, like an open-ended, unlimited type of refuah, in which case we treat it like mezonos, and she's entitled to it on a regular basis. Krevid Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda had these relatives, havalu itas abba. They had the wife of their father, meaning a stepmother, to have a stricha refuah called yaima. She was in constant need of medical assistance, and it really was it was a big burden on them. Also, Rabbi so they came to their relative Rabbi Yehuda for advice. Amrlu, he tells them, look, I have an easy solution for you. If you want to cut in these expenses, listen what you do. Izilu kutzule midil reife. Go to the local doctor and cut a deal with him. We'll give you X amount to take care of our stepmother for the rest of her life. So once it becomes a defined, specified amount, kayitz, ish kitzva, now it's no longer treated as mezonis, and now you can just deduct it from the ksuba. Simple solution. Make a lifetime contract with the doctor. Rabbi Yehuda. So Rabbi Yehuda felt bad. He regretted the advice that he gave to his relatives. I was taking sides, so to speak, right? Asinu atzmeinu, we considered ourselves ka'ircha dayanim, like the lawyers who would manipulate the arguments in the bezdin. I shouldn't have gotten involved. Miyikara my savar. So what was Rabbi Yehuda thinking, initially when he did get involved, when he offered that advice? Uluba safe my savar, and what do you think later, which made him regret what he did? Miyikara savar. Initially, he figured, we have a pasuk in Yishai, don't ignore your flesh. These are my relatives, I have to help them out. But then, ultimately, he figured, Adam Chashav Shani, a person of high prominence, has to keep to higher standards. People will learn from him and conclude that this is something to be done in all cases, even by non-relatives, and manipulate, Dinei Torah, and take it a step further. We have to be extra careful. Continues the Mishnah. We have a ksuba that has many tanoim, many stipulations. We discussed the chiv to redeem, etc., etc. After he passes away, his daughters will have mezainas from his nechasim until they marry. Likewise, his almana is supported from the nechasim of the Yisraelim. Likewise, there's something called ksubas benin dichran, which basically means like this. The dowry that an Isha brings into the marriage, where does that go? Upon her death. Her husband. Upon his death. The kids. Divided equally. But there's a concern. Because this father-in-law might not want to give his daughter and son-in-law a rich dowry. A generous dowry. For concern that it's going to leave the family. It's going to end up by his set of kids. Instead of her set of... Let's say they have 2 sets of kids in the family. To circumvent that concern, Chachama made a takana ksuba as benin dichran, benin sons dichran, zechar, the boys, that the nedunya material, the dowry material, and the ksuba material, the payments, etc., will end up by her kids. So if she passes away and then the husband passes away, typically the kids divide everything equally, but not the nedunya, the dowry, and the ksuba payments. That is directed to her sons. So it stays in the family, and that encourages her father, way back at the point of marriage, to be generous with his dowry offerings. This also is a Tanai best. Now let's say we omit all these things. There's a ksuba without any of these. It's automatically activated. Like Kasav la Benin Dichran. Let's say he failed to write the following clause: Benin Dichran, the boys, the Yahavi Lechiminai that you will have from me. This is the husband speaking to the wife. Inon Yartun Kesar Ksubasech. They will get the ksuba payments. Yasser, in addition, Al Chulkeya and the Machen, in addition to the other chelik of the Yerusha that they divide equally with their brothers. So your ksuba stays with your kids. He failed to write that, chayav. He's still obligated. Shutnai bezdin. It's an automatic stipulation established by bezdin. Another example of an omission. Benon nukvan dihavan lechiminai, the girls that you will have from me, meaning our daughters. After my passing, yahavan yasram bebesi, they can stick around in my home. Umidzam menachasa, and get their mezainis from my nechasim. Ada tilakchun leguvran, until they're taken by men, until they marry. He failed to write it. Chayiv, he's still obligated. Shutnai bezdin. It's an automatic stipulation. Next, at teyasva bebesi, you yourself, after my passing, you will have full access to my home. Umidzam menachasa, you'll have access to my nechasim to support yourself. Kol yimei, as long as megal menusich, the duration of your being an almana until you marry. Bebesi, all this will happen in my home. He didn't write it. He's still chayav. Why shouldn't I bezdin? Kach hayu anshe Yerushalayim koisvin. This text, this nusach, was what the people of Yerushalayim used to use regarding the almana. Anshe Golul, likewise the people in Golul, hayu koisvin kan Yerushalayim would do the same like Yerushalayim. But in Anshe Yehuda, They had a slightly different version. How did they write it? They would write as follows. If you are an almana after my passing, you can access my assets, my estate to support yourself, but there's a limit. There's an expiry date. Until the point where the Yershin decide, we'll pay you out the ksuba, have a nice day. Until then you could stick around, you have access, you have rights, but once they decide to pay you off, pay you out, it's done. Therefore, if the Yershin should choose to do so, they can do so. They pay the ksuba to the almana, and that's it. And they let her go. What's the point of Kesubos b'nei dichron? What's the purpose? Answer is so that a father should be eager to go ahead and be generous, and will be willing to commit a generous dowry for his daughter, knowing that it's going to end up in his family. It's going to stay in-house. Kibnoi, just like a Yerusha which goes to your son, this as well will stay in-house, and therefore he'll be generous. But in effect, he's taking materials and properties from his other boys and giving to his daughter. Umi kamidi. Does this make any sense? The Rachmana Amar, Torah says, who is entitled to Yerusha? Bralirus, a son is Yerush. Bartale Tirus, a daughter is not Yerush. Typically a son inherits, not a daughter. And what happened now? V'asur Rabban come along with Takni, they made a takana to switch that. The Tiro is Barta. We encourage his father to give tons of stuff to his daughter. That's a misdirection. You're misdirecting your assets from your sons to your daughter. That's not correct. It's not right. Answer is yes. Hanami Daraisu, this too. This idea of giving a generous dowry is rooted in a pasuk. T'chsiv, I have a pasuk in Yirmiyah. K'chu nashim, take wives. V'lidu banu abanis, and have your children. And then marry off your children. U'chu libneichem nashim. Take wives for your sons. Marry them off. V'es b'nei seichem, t'nol likewise your daughters. Marry them off to men. That's the pasuk. Now, bishleima banim, I understand how it's in his hands to marry his sons off. Biyadei kaimi, it's in his hands because Rashi says typically a man looks for a wife. So make sure your sons look for wives. Ela bante mikamin biyadei, but when it comes to daughters, is it in one's control to get a son-in-law for his daughter? It's not the derech for a girl to look for a boy. So what does the pasuk mean? Ensure husbands for your daughters. Hakamashmal, the point of the pasuk is facilitate it. Arrange for it. Allow for it. Encourage it. Denilbasha, v'nichsa. Dress her, cover her, give her a dowry. V'neisiv lavmiti, give her tons of stuff. Kiyeche de kavtzilos, that people are jumping for, and it makes it an attractive deal. V'asu nasvil, now come marry her. Vad kama, until what point is what's considered a reasonable dowry. Abaye, Ram, Adamit, Abaye, they both explained. Adle isu nichsi, up to 10% of your assets. So that's the point of the Kesubos b'nei dichron. We want to encourage a father to be generous in his dowry offerings, which will facilitate marriage. So we promise him, look, all these assets, these properties, these materials will stay in-house. Ultimately, even if your daughter passes on, and then her husband passes on, all this goes back to her family, to her set of sons. So the dowry and the ksuba payments as well, all that ends up with her sons. Ve'ema, here comes a kasha. Why don't we say, da'av leirus? Sure, her sons will inherit the dowry received from her father. But the baal leirus, but not what comes from her husband, right? She passed away. Her husband is yerush everything. In the dunya, he is yerush the ksuba payments as well, which she was entitled to. Now the husband gets it. When he passes away, all that goes to her sons. The ksuba payment which comes from her husband, it's unrelated to her father. It's nothing to do with a dowry, nothing to do with encouraging him to be generous with his dowry offerings. What does that do with that? Answer is, that's the way people think. If you don't give, I'm not going to give. Imkain, because if the concept would not apply to the husband's monies as well, that too goes over to her kids upon his passing. Av Nami, the father as well, at the point of marriage, Mim Nevelei Kasav, he'll refrain from being generous, from committing a generous dowry. If you're willing to allow your payments, your ksuba payments, to go over to the grandsons of mine, I'll also be generous as well. That's what people think. Just mindset. Asks the Gemara a bunch of questions on the ksubas b'nindich. Ve'ima, perhaps, heicha de kasavav. Yeah, if in fact the father was generous and he committed, so then alichtev baal. Then we say that the husband's payments as well will go to the wife's boys. So it's tit for tat, right? But heicha de kasavav. Suppose there was no father involved and he wasn't. There was no dowry given. We should cancel the entire arrangement. Alichtev baal. Then the husband as well should not have this commitment that his ksuba payment should go to her children. The whole point was to encourage the father, and that's not applicable. Rabbanan did not want to divide between this case and that and differentiate. We keep it, consistent throughout. And therefore, even when there's no father or no dowry, we still maintain ksubas b'nin dichran. Asks the Gemara, Bas ben abonim nami tires. Let's say this wife passed away. Then her husband passed away, and she left behind a daughter. Her daughter versus his sons. She should be entitled to the ksubas b'nin dichran. Why is it specific to boys? She has no son. She only has a daughter. We want the stuff to stay in the family. So Bas, who's bein abanim amongst brothers, namitiris. She should also be entitled. Answer is Kinachla Shavir Rabban. Rabbanan did not create a new creature here. It conforms. It's meant to follow, to a certain extent. It's meant to follow. It's meant to model the concept of inheritance of Yerusha. So her dowry is inherited by her sons instead of being divided equally amongst all. It goes to her sons, but it still is following in line with the concept of Yerusha, and that applies to only a son. But if you have a daughter amongst sons, there's no Yerusha to the daughter, so it's not applicable. Okay, well then, Bas ben Abonis Tiros. Let's say she has her own daughter, and there are other daughters around, but there are no sons. Typically, when there were just girls, they divided in chasim equally. A girl can't take instead of the boy, but a girl amongst girls, divided equally. So in this case, why can't the girl get ksubas b'nin dichran if there are only girls around? Loi plug rabbanon. Once again, we don't want to differentiate. We want to make it clear and consistent. It only applies to a boy, which in that case typically conforms to din Yerusha. V'tigbi metatali. Ksubas b'nin dichran. What can you collect it from? Halacha is only from absolute assets, real estate. Why not metaltalin? The whole point is we want the father to be encouraged to facilitate the marriage and be generous with the dowry. So what difference does it make if you're allowing him to collect metaltalin or karka? Answer is ksuba shavir abanan. Fact is, it's an element, it's a component of the ksuba commitment, and just like ksuba is only collected from karka, that's a typical shibut. You collect your claims from absolute guaranteed assets. So here as well, we treat it as such. It only works from karka. Titroif mimeshabdi. Okay, well, if it's like ksuba, we know that an isha can collect her ksuba payments from tied up assets that are tied up and have been sold by her husband. She has a stronger claim than them. So ksubas b'nin dichran should be something which allows you access to properties that were tied up. And the Gemara later says it doesn't work. Answer is Yarsin Tnan. The Lashon HaMishnah, the Lashon of the Ksuba is Yerusha. We treat it like a Yerusha. And a Yerusha, well, you can't access assets which are tied up to collect your Yerusha. So we treat it to a certain extent like a Yerusha. So it sort of has many disadvantages. We treat it like a Yerusha and we treat it like a Ksuba. It's a very restricted type of arrangement. Asks the Gemara one more kasha. Ve'ema afagav de leka moisar dinar. We're going to learn later on in the Masechta that Kesubos b'nin dichran, after all, is only a takanas chazal. It's like Tana de Rabbanan. We don't want it to negate and to contravene the concept of inheritance, of Yerusha. We don't want to take the place of Yerusha. So if there's enough to go around, there's a Moisar dinar, there's at least one dinar extra, aside from the Kesubos b'nindichra material. So that extra dinar allows for the regular Yerusha to be implemented. So once Yerusha is activated, for that dinar, we allow the rest of the assets to be accessed and allocated as per the Kesubos b'nindichra, which is Takanas Chazal, Takana de Rabbanan. Why is that necessary? Why do we need a Moisar dinar? So actually the case there is we have two sets of kids. A fellow married two wives, and each wife has her own set of kids. So the lacha is that when he passes away, each set of kids wants their mother's, dowry. We have to ensure that there's at least one dinar on top of all the dowries, which allows for a proper Yerusha to be implemented, and then we can allocate the rest of the stuff based on the Takanas Chachamim of Kesubos b'nindichra. And the question is, why is that necessary? After all, we said that the Kesubos b'nindichra is treated like a Yerusha. Answer is, b'makam dekama akro nachla da'iraisa lo tekin rabbanon. The Kesubos b'nindichra will preempt, will substitute, will replace the Yerusha da'iraisa. The Chachamim do not apply it in that case. It can't come instead of the Dinah Torah of Yerusha. So if Kesubos b'nindichra will encompass everything that's here, that doesn't work. You need at least something that can be addressed and be allocated using the regular Yerusha formula, and then the rest of the stuff you will allocate as per Kesubos b'nindichra. Here comes a story. Rav Papa, he was involved with a shidduch for his son. He was marrying him off with a family of Abba Surah. So Rav Papa went over there to arrange for the Kesuba to be written. Shama Yehuda B'Marema. So Yehuda B'Marema heard that Rav Papa was coming. Nafak, he went out. Also, he came as Chazile. He came and he greeted him. They're walking along. When they got to the entranceway of Abba Surah, Havaka Mifter Mineh. So Yehuda B'Marema was suddenly taking leave of Rav Papa. Rav Papa tells him, Neil Mar Ba'adai, why don't you come with me? Keep me company there. It's a happy time. Come join. Chazi de Lava Nichle. He notices that Yehuda B'Marema is hesitating. Why are you hesitating? What's wrong with coming in to arrange the ksuba and the dowry? My daitach, what are you thinking? Oh, I can guess. Shmuel told Rabbi Yehuda, his Talmud Rabbi Yehuda was very sharp. Shenina, he used to call him sharp one. Be careful, don't ever be involved as an aide, as a dayan. Don't officiate ba'avur yachsanta when there is transferring of inheritance. Ideally, a person should not tinker with the Torah established formula of inheritance. Don't be involved in transferring funds and manipulating inheritance. Even if the father is trying to take away the assets from a misbehaving son and giving it over to the good son, the bra tava, don't do that. You never know. A person can never know what type of good children may come out of the troublesome son. Don't get involved in transferring assets, etc. Of course, a person is involved in taking away from his son and giving to his daughter. Don't get involved in that. That's what Shmuel tells Rabbi Yehuda. So Rav Papa tells Yehuda B'Marema, is that what you're thinking? You don't want to come join us with this ksuba making because you know there's a nedunya involved and that involves transferring assets from a person's sons to his daughter who's getting married. Is that why you're hesitating? There's no concern here. Let's remember, Hai Nami Takanta de Rabbanani. This is a Takanas Chazal. We spoke about it before. The Amar Rabbi Yechanan. We learn from Pasuk. A dowry is a very worthwhile endeavor. Amarle, so Yehuda tells him, okay, yeah, sure. Generally, it's fine. Hane mili midati. That's when he's doing it willingly. La asuya nami, but to force him, to compel him. Amarle, so Papa says, who's compelling? Who's forcing? There's no pressure here. Atu mikamina lach. Did I mean to tell you the oil va'asi to come in and force the father-in-law to be generous? Oil, come in v'loisasi kamina. Come in and don't exert any pressure. That's all I meant. Just be a sound observer. Amalei Yehuda responded, my lady, my entry, my presence creates such a pressure. It sets the bar. It creates high expectations. Hainu Asiya. This is like pressuring the father-in-law because he'll have to impress me with his commitments. I don't want to be there and force that upon him. Rav Papa didn't accept it. Akfai, he forced him oil and he went in with him. Ishtik. So Yehuda's sitting there in silence. Didn't want to get involved. Stayed on the side quietly. Did not want to create any impression of involvement and pressurization. Ishtik v'Yosef, he was sitting quietly. Savar, so what happened was, Abur Sarah misunderstood his silence. He figured, Savar, hu mirtach rotach, he must be mad at me. That I'm not offering enough dowry. Kasvel kol ma dahavale. So he wrote away everything that he owned to the last penny. L'saif, after this was done, Amalei, he turns to Yehuda. Now why are you upset at me? Even now you're not speaking to me? What's going on? He made a shvur. The life of the master, of the chacham. I promise. I left nothing for myself. What do you want from me? Amalei, so Yehuda responded just the opposite. If you would have requested my advice, even all this that you have already committed, I would not have consented. I don't go for this whole thing. I wasn't trying to pressure you, just the opposite. I was keeping my silence. I was just minding my own business. Amalei, so Abba Sarah, upon hearing this, responds, okay, if this is unacceptable, so now I can just go back and be chayzer on my commitment. Amalei says, no, that you can't do. Commitment is a commitment. Shavi nafshach hadrana, to make yourself a chayzer, to go back on your word. Loy kamina, that's not what I had in mind. That's not what I mean. Once you've committed, mazel tov, shah tova mitzlach. Okay, let's quickly recap today's daf. One commits to redeem his wife. By Yikayin, redeem and send you home. By Yisrael, redeem and restore you as a wife. We have Abaye, we have Rava. Abaye says, Alman l'kayin God, even though she's really usher to him, it doesn't matter because after all the commitment is to redeem and send you back home. No difference in this case. Rava says no. Since she was usher to him before she was taken captive, this is a totally different type of case. There's no commitment of pidyon in this case. Only the husband has to be paida. It's a one-time thing. As opposed to the Yisayimim who don't have to. According to Rav Shimon Gamliel, it's only if it's equal to the ksuba amount and also equal to market value. Just as he has to feed his wife, he has to provide for her medical needs. If it's a defined amount, then it could be deducted from the ksuba. We're speaking as an almana, it could be deducted from the ksuba. But otherwise, if it's an open-ended type of thing, has the din of mezainos. We had the story of Yechanan, who regretted, Adam Chashav has to be extra careful and keep the higher standards. We have 3 Tanaim that are standard in Ksuba. A daughter is fed after her father's passing, Alamana as well. We discussed Kesubos B'nedich, and the point is to facilitate marriage. We want to encourage the father to be generous, to give the Nedunya, and therefore we allow the Nedunya and the Kesuba payments to stay in the family, stay with her son. It only applies to a son. He can only draw from karka which is not tied up, and only when it's not going to replace or substitute for the regular Yerusha procedure. All the best to you and Hatzlacha.